Hi everyone, Dave here for Tag. I'm going to give you today an update on my return spring mod. I'm going to give you the exact length of both spring and re-show you how to do it. I'm starting with the new blaster. I already installed and cut 2 return spring inside. And I'm going to check out in what I have in my hardware. What can I put inside to upgrade the spring beside the classic K26, which might just work in this one. I haven't done it, but from what I've seen, this little spring should have been perfect. The same kind I use inside the Reflex 6 spring for the double spring mod. Those are very useful with X-Shot. They fit inside. This is a Reflex 6 spring, which is the exact same size as the X-Shot Meteor spring, but the X-Shot Meteor spring is way beefier. Man, it must been two and a half times thicker, like the wire. It's crazy. That spring is great. So, first thing first, that little front spring that attached to the orange lever and the screw post is 30 coil long. You measure 30 coil of this little spring. You give you an extra 1, 2 or 3 coil so you can make rings to hook it. But basically, oh yeah, and I use those spring. Hillman generic material, numbers here, sizes there. This is the code, the barcode and the model for the one that wants it. I already posted it on my Instagram, but with one of these you can make 2 blaster. The spring is long enough. This is half of the spring. This is the half I didn't use. I always used to cut one end and cut the other end, so it leaves me with blank return spring. And I have already factory form eye at one of both ends of my spring. And the second one on the slides, which hook to the far blue post on the slide and on the upper black post on the blaster frame in the shell, it's a 56 coil precisely. Haven't measured it in millimeter or in inch. This one is 56 coil. I'm a little maniac. This one is 30. Might go 29 for this one, but 30 is already a little tense. I didn't hook it right now up there because I want to wait till the plunger tube assembly is over it so I can hold it and hook the last end of the return spring. But for that plunger tube, as goes for mod, I don't want to mess out. I don't want to mess up the air restrictor inside. It worked very well, and it gave some movement to the air. I think it helped the blaster. This thing is well made in itself. I'm just gonna go with some super lube, changing the O-ring, and a little trick I found for an easy upgrade. This is part of a Adventure Force Century Spring, Chrono Spring. This thing, I think this one is a Chronos one. I just took the Chrono Spring, I cut it to length of my other, what was that, Blaze Storm spring. Have a few of those around. I cut it to length, they are the same diameter and it fits. I squared off the end a little so it fit well on the plunger. And this one is gonna go inside the stock spring. Stock spring is there normally. This one is gonna go just around here. And I cut it to length so I can reassemble the blaster. Once installed, you have that little extra notch that is already outside around here. So I need to give me some space so I can work with the blaster. And it will not interfere with that little lever that slides into the shell. But yeah, keeping this one, I already cut it to length, squared it off, but yeah, like I told you, old Chrono spring, Adventure Force Century spring, basically the same size, will be good for this one. So, let's put it in. Should go fairly easy. Make sure it's not scratching anywhere, and so far it's not, so it's perfect. Okay, for the tricky part here, past the last. Okay, so I guess the spring is there. Look well in place. Doesn't seem to want to move. I mean, that much. Nope. Pretty square. Okay. That's gonna give me my extra push I need. Let's remove that old flimsy O-ring. I already selected a few O-ring that might fit on it from a bunch I had. Auto Hardware Store, Miracle for modification. They have O-rings, they have return spring. Okay, so this is the old one, pretty loose. Was letting air pass around, pretty sure of it. There's not that much lube on it. I'm gonna correct that with my secret orange lube. Okay. Try this one. Yeah, pretty much the same size. A little thicker. This one will be more tight around it. And still it's thicker. I'm gonna try the small one. Okay. Now, does that thing fit inside? Yeah, it's more loose than before. So, I'm gonna remove this one. Okay, try the small one. Okay, this is my stock one. Don't want to lose it. Okay, so this is the slightly bigger one. Okay, that's well. Okay, that have to be sitting inside, and yeah, it's filling up the gap very, very well. Oh yes, that feels tight but free enough not to give me problem. Cool. Gonna keep it like that. Put some lube on it. Don't want to put an incredible amount, but enough so it's gonna help it go inside. This is my orange lube that I use on my modified blaster. I love this stuff. Works well. Lasts a blaster's life. Okay. Maybe I put a little too much inside. Okay, that thing's feel good. Okay, it's gonna work. Perfect. So we have this spring. Now time to put the blaster back together and see if that thing works. There's a screw I haven't put in place and I can't find which one it is. Fun. Ah, right there. Under the trigger. But yeah, I might put it more prototype-y look, like the original box artwork with this part black, the rail black, because originally the access door was like right here, and black, orange on the physical prototype that was shown at Toy Fair in February, I think. locked, unlocked. Wow! And I'm afraid it doesn't catch. Okay guys, after some investigation, looks like this little chrono spring was a little too much to catch here. Wasn't compressing enough because it wasn't going down enough on the plunger, and I didn't want to scrap it off, and I already heard it 2 or 3 plays, so I decided to go back to my original idea, that Blaze Storm Z-Kong spring, which is pretty generic but pretty small when you compress it, and it's a tad bigger in diameter than the Chronos one that I cut. This thing, to fit it all the way in, to be sure it's catching, I filed the plunger tube a little so it's centered on it and it doesn't move, and it's going all the way to it here, because other spring were getting stuck on those shoulder here. It wasn't going down, and that tiny little bit of space here that the spring was not going in was preventing from catching. So let's try with the Z-Kong spring. A double spring, pretty easy to put in, and yes, it's going all the way down and it's held in place, quite centered. Nice. Is that yeah, this is beefy, this is reflex 6. Okay, this is orbit, so we have our double spring. I did change the o-ring earlier. I'm just gonna add a tiny bit of lube on it, because it's lacking a little. Okay. The trick is here, if you don't want to have reliability problem with your Meteor, will be to be sure your plunger tube is at the right position, because if it's slightly angled, it will prevent the double prime catch to be in its place, and if it's not in its place, it will not prime. Plain and simple. This look like it's held in place. Now let's try to close it again. Hopefully this time it's gonna work. Return spring is working great. It was just really not catching. Like, I had almost a coil of distance between the catch. Was my mistake. Z-Kong spring and some filing on the plunger tube might solve the problem. Let's try it out. Now, let's see if everything is sitting square together. Tight one of those two to the correct spec, which is don't force any screw. It's gonna give you problem. I had question about my lube. It's a Permatex silicone brake lube. It's the orange one. It's same color as this. Works great, safe for every plastic or rubber. Doesn't stick up. It doesn't jam. It lubricates very well. This is not the same as the Super Lube, but it's working nice. Now, this thing is a beast. I'm gonna try it out next time I go to the chronograph, but This was my mod, return spring, and the double spring mod for the Chaos Meteor. To note, this spring, this Chronos cutout spring that I did, would have worked perfectly if I filed the plunger a little more so it can sit squarely at the bottom. So I haven't said I'm not gonna make it, just that this time you see blaster jam. It jammed like that, couldn't do anything. Good thing for us, this blaster is well designed. I could remove this side of the slide, then everything came back in front, and then I could remove all the other screw to remove my spring and unjam the blaster. Easy to fix. So yeah, this is the mod for the Chaos Meteor. It prime, it comes back, the locks work, magazine haven't changed, I haven't touched it. Return spring worked like a charm. Sounds very beefy. I left the restrictor in because I didn't want the blaster to break or anything. This is not a good idea to remove the restrictor from this blaster with the strength of spring that I just put in. It might be for another day. If I pad the top of the restrictor, if I pad the top of my plunger tube, I might just be able to remove the restrictor, but it's working fine. I'm not gonna do much work to this one. I think it's finished. That's it for today. Please leave me a like and comment. Subscribe for more content. You can always follow me on Facebook and Instagram @ThatOldNerveGuy. This was Dave Fatag. See you next time. Bye.